Rice. We should be grateful that it's being dismissed. Priorities. Are there new charges from this alleged incident that occurred the other day?
So there are new charges pending in district court that have already been filed. I think it's a trespass, but it might be just an assault.
I think it's an assault matter here.
This is important context right here. The court is signaling that this case isn't isolated. There are new charges pending in district court. That tells you the judge is already weighing a broader pattern of behavior, not just what's in front of them today. And when courts talk about separate proceedings, that's usually a warning shot.
And then Mr. Close advised us of an incident yesterday that may also have new charges. Those will obviously be dealt with in district court separately. And I, again, don't want to dismiss these charges, but I think at this point, it's best to move forward and not make Ms. Rice's ex and son testify if it's not necessary.
Okay. All right. So, with regard to sentencing today on the contempt court, are you ready to proceed to that, Mr. Brown?
Yeah, Your Honor.
All right. Do people have any position on sentencing before the court proceeds?
Just like I said, I do think the maximum on the contempt of court would accurately reflect the delays in this case. Time is often in favor of the accused, and it certainly has worked in Ms. Rice's favor in this case. But that being said, I think the maximum on the contempt is more than...
Listen closely to this part. The prosecutor is laying the groundwork for maximum contempt. Repeated no-shows, positive tests, bench warrants. In courtroom language, this is what we call death by paperwork. Each missed appearance adds weight, and judges take that personally.
There, given her number of positive tests, including today being positive, and given, I could go back and see how many times this was delayed based on her non-appearance, but I don't have that figure right in front of me on both cases, and as well, that's not even counting the district court where she had failed to appear and was arrested in district court before it was found over. Thank you.
Mr. Millar, anything you'd like to say on behalf of Ms. Rice?
No, Judge, I have represented Ms. Rice almost since the time I started the public defender's office. So I'm very well acquainted with Ms. Rice and all of her legal troubles. That being said, Judge, none of this is an excuse for her behavior, but 3-4 years ago, well, first of all, and I think this court's also well acquainted with Ms. Rice as well. Whatever happened prior to that has certainly played a great deal on her emotion, how she handles things in an emotional level. And I think as we all know, when we let emotions take control of our decision-making process, we usually make bad decisions. And Ms. Rice is engaged in counseling and therapy and will probably need it for a very long time to help her get past that area where she lets her emotions take control of her decision-making process. That being said, there are times where she is she has some good attributes. One is she's a good mother. And I know that this court could argue, and not actually argue, but state that how can you be a good mother if you're using drugs that you shouldn't be using? And there's no debate with that. But by all accounts, through her CPS case, which I handled, and through today, her primary focus for the last 3 years has been her children. She has 2. She is the primary caregiver. The fact that CPS has closed the file on her shows that she's committed to continue.
This is a defense's strongest card, motherhood and CPS closure. When a CPS case is officially closed, that's not nothing. It means the state once trusted her enough to return custody. The question is, does that past progress outweigh what the judge is seeing right now?
To be a good mother.
That was quite a while ago.
About 10 months maybe. I think it was December, October. But she has continued to make strides to getting housing, getting the services she needs. Guardian, last time we were in on that case, I had no issues with her as her parenting skills. Ms. Rice faces many challenges, Judge. And you know, she was in district court yesterday, and I was present for that hearing, and the judge, you know, spoke to her. And one of the things that's apparent is Ms. Rice has so much burdening her. Children, these pending cases, which I think if we can get them, if these are finally resolved today, will be a great help in getting her past that. Remove those stressors that I think will help her life settle down somewhat. She can spend more time focusing on her children. I think she tends to put too much emphasis on things and uses that as a way to justify some of her behavior, such as not appearing in court, not attending certain things. And I certainly understand the state's point of view on this and their situation. But I think this is a good resolution. I think that the longer she's in jail, the more risk her children are. And so, with all of that being said, Judge, and knowing Ms. Rice and knowing that she actually has a case, she has to be in district court on this assault charge this morning. I told her to come here first, and she did. I'd asked the court to use its wisdom and fashion the most appropriate and lenient sentence.
Here's where emotion fully takes over Courtroom. Personal history, medical explanations, false positives. All of it is being laid out raw. But remember, judges don't decide on feelings alone. They decide on records, test results, and compliance. This is a risky moment.
Any jail time as it possibly can. That would be our request on Ms. Rice's behalf.
Ms. Rice, is there anything you'd like to say on your own behalf?
Yeah.
Okay, I need you to go stand at the podium for me.
Three years ago, when Eleanor was born, at Toledo Children's Hospital, her meconium came back. With methamphetamine in it. And I had not touched it. I had never touched it. And so they did a very extensive and intrusive test through ProMedica. Eleanor had zero withdrawal. Zero. They monitored her for 6 hours. She had zero withdrawals. Not one withdrawal did she have. None. Because I wasn't using that drug. But the drugs that I take from my Dr. Noble, and Dr. Noble told me and my case manager this in her office, they cause a false positive. When Memphis was born, his meconium came back with the same exact test results, but they didn't even go through what they went through. They didn't call CPS. CPS never got called because they knew that it was verbatim the same exact as Eleanor's. My kids will lose everything, and I've worked really hard to get where we're at. We will lose it all. When I went to jail this last time, I lost my daycare for my kids, which is why I had to bring them to court. I reapplied. I started all over all of my stuff again. This thing downstairs that happened, I need to be able to fight that because it's a lie. I didn't put my hands on her. She put her hands on me and my kids.
All right, so ma'am, I don't want you to talk about any pending cases because everything you say can be used against you because this is a court record. All right, so don't talk about events that occurred on new cases. Say that with your parents.
I know that my kids will be in foster care if I go to jail. I don't have anybody to watch them. Their dad has not seen them in over 2 months. I've climbed out of my trenches. I've climbed out of them by myself. I've worked by myself with them in tow, and we need each other, and they need me, and I'm not using.
Mr. Coast, you administered a test today to her, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And did she test positive for anything?
Tested positive for THC, amphetamines, and also methamphetamines.
Now, we know she's on Adderall, but her levels were extremely high, so that would be more than positive.
Correct, and to her previous test was a swab that was actually sent to the lab. I did talk to the lab. This is the only thing that would make methamphetamine turn positive is methamphetamine. Going through a false positive in the Adderall.
This exchange is brutal for the defense. Once the officer confirms high levels and rules out false positives, the narrative collapses. In court, scientific certainty almost always beats personal testimony, especially when prior violations already exist.
All right, so Ms. Rice, now I realized that you completed a CPF case, you had your children placed in your care, and the case was closed in October. But what I will tell you, what I've seen is you go downhill since then. I'm talking now, not you. So on April 17th of 2023, there was a motion affidavit and bench warrant because you failed to call in to pretrial services coordinator. They were imposed on a daily basis. There were no call-ins from 4/10 of 23 to today. It's dated on April 17th. Let's see. I have a drug screen collected April 6th of 23 that shows a positive test for methamphetamine. So then, let's see, go to the next one. On May 16th of 2023, you failed to appear for warrant on May 16th of 2023. There's a bench warrant. Let's see, this one was filed April 18th. I would call in. Let's see. Prepare bench warrant arraignment. I have a failure to appear bench warrant arraignment on May 16th. Signed by me on May 16th. I have pretrial release order. Comply with CMH recommendations and medications. We've had multiple tests that were sent in on a swab showing your levels are dangerously high. So, Ms. Rice, I'm talking. So, Ms. Rice, I have great concerns about your mental health, your physical health, and your just defiance from day one of the court's orders, and also a downhill spiral that I'm seeing in your behavior. Court's orders are in place, and while I have great sympathy for your trials and tribulations, I also feel that you have taken advantage of that to some extent, trying to manipulate the court. But based on just overwhelming issues I've had for you, with you and your failure to comply with court orders, I think you got off very lucky today because the charges are being dismissed. But I am going to sentence you to jail for 93 days.
And this is the tragic contradiction of the justice system. Charges dismissed, but jail imposed. The judge believes mercy was already given and exhausted. What do you think? Was this accountability, or did the system fail someone who was clearly spiraling? Drop your thoughts below.
Well, get credit for any time you've already served.
Can you please give me a shot? Please,
No.
please, I'm begging you. I'm begging you. My kids are going to be in foster care. I'm begging you. I'm begging you. Don't touch me. Don't touch me.